Hi, we're out on our range today, and we're talking about shotguns, specifically in their role as home defense, personal protection firearms. Also, today's presentation is not a discussion on whether or not you should use a shotgun in that role. Everything I say is coming from the standpoint that you've already decided that a shotgun is what you're going with. Third, the music you may hear in the background is being played by the neighbors, which are over 400 yards away. Go figure. And fourth, we're going to be talking specifically about a particular shooting technique that some people are advocating. People contacted me, asked me to review that technique, so here we are. Now, when you're using a shotgun for home defense, one of the criticisms is that it's bulky and hard to deal with, and it's too long. It announces your presence. As you're going around a corner, the shotgun arrives a long time before you do. There are some ways to alleviate that to some extent. One of them is using a low ready position. Another is what's called a high ready, or sometimes people will call it an outdoor ready. Now, in the low ready, you can see that the shotgun is not sticking so far out ahead of you, and you bring it up to engage the target. However, in close quarters, when you're inside a building, if an adversary were to come around a corner, and before I can get that shotgun up, he grabs my barrel, I can shoot him in the leg. As where with a high ready, as I try to bring the shotgun to bear, the same adversary could grab it, and I might have to resort to something different. So to alleviate those problems, someone's come up with a technique that, for lack of a better way to put it, I'm going to call it the over-the-shoulder technique, where the shotgun stock is over my shoulder, and your ready position looks something like this. And when you fire it, you just bring the shotgun up and fire from here. Well, that brings up the questions, how fast and accurately am I going to be able to shoot the shotgun like this? And to what degree am I going to be able to manage the recoil from this position? Let's see if we can shed some light on those questions. In any discussion of using a shotgun for home defense, we have to start with a redundant demonstration of pattern entropy. When using a shotgun for home defense, the range you fire will probably be very short. 2 or 3 yards. I would say that the overwhelming majority of home defense shootings are going to occur at less than 7 yards. So I've got my Mossberg 500 shotgun with an improved cylinder bore barrel, and I have it loaded with Winchester 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 1 ounce of 7.5 birdshot. And I'll shoot this target from 7 yards, and let's see how big our pattern is. This big hole is where the shot cup hit, and although that went through the cardboard, that would not do any real damage to an adversary. But in looking at our birdshot, we see that there is some spread, but about 99% of those pellets are within the 9 ring. That's not much spread, and that's at 7 yards. In a home defense shooting, the distance would probably be significantly less. Now let's do this demonstration again. Now I have my Mossberg 500 loaded with Federal 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch double-aught buck 12 pellet. And side note, here's the box of ammunition, and it very clearly reads 12 pellets, double-aught buck. Please do a little research before you try to tell me there is no such thing. And now I'm going to shoot this target from 3 yards. So with buckshot, and shooting at a distance that I would consider realistic for home defense, we see that our pattern spread is just about 0. At typical home defense distances, you will not have enough pattern entropy to enhance your hit probability in any meaningful way. Now we have our favorite target, soda jugs, and I have 4 of them set up at a distance of 5 yards. I have the shotgun loaded with birdshot, and I'm going to do 4 one-shot drills coming from the low ready, and let's see how I do for speed and accuracy. Now we have 4 new soda jugs set up, and I'll engage these doing 4 one-shot drills with the over-the-shoulder technique. Let's see how I do. Well, kind of screwed up working the slide. Let's try this again. I find that I have difficulty manipulating the safety doing this. still goofing me up on working the slide. With some practice, maybe I could do a little better. Now, there was one guy in particular who was advocating the over-the-shoulder technique, who was also talking about how guns like this Mossberg Shockwave are terrible. Let's try our 4 one-shot drills with this and see how I do. Still not as good as the 500 shooting from the shoulder, but I'd have to say that worked better than the over-the-shoulder technique. Now I have 2 targets set up at 7 yards, and I have the shotgun loaded with the Federal 12-gauge 2 3/4 inch double-aught buck 12 pellet. In shooting the soda jugs, I was shooting 5 yards, I was only doing 1-shot drills, and I was loaded with the bird shot. Now I'm going to shoot these 2 targets, left, right, as fast as I think I can hit, and we'll see how I do for accuracy and for recoil management when the shotgun's loaded with the buckshot. And I still had one hang-up trying to work the slide. Now let's take a close-up look at the targets. And here's our results. I hit the targets every time, but our accuracy isn't great. Now I have 2 new targets set up, and again I have the shotgun loaded with the double-aught buck 12 pellet. And I'll do the same drill, but this time I'll start from the low ready and shoot from the shoulder. Now let's take a look at the targets. And there's our results. Now the big impacts around the edge, those are the shot cups. Where the buckshot hit, much better accuracy. And as far as time, using the over-the-shoulder technique, I had 5.29 seconds. Coming from the low ready, 3.52 seconds. That's a loss of 1.77 seconds. So significantly more accurate and significantly less time. So we see that when we compare the over-the-shoulder technique to coming from the low ready, the results are, at least for me, that shooting is slower, less accurate, more difficult to manipulate the safety, and more likely to result in a shooter-caused malfunction in working the slide. However, there's no denying that when you compare the low ready to the over-the-shoulder technique, over-the-shoulder does keep the muzzle a lot farther back, and it is going to be less obtrusive. Therefore, I would suggest perhaps a better way to go would be keep the stock under your armpit. This keeps it back, and if I have to shoot point blank, I can. But this ready position also allows me to very quickly bring the shotgun up to my shoulder. Far more easily than trying to bring it to my shoulder from here. Now there's one thing I want to add. The Mossberg Shockwave. I've demonstrated this in previous presentations. There's no need to discuss it at length now, but the short version is I really don't like this firearm. When you compare this to a Mossberg 590 or my model 500, the 500 has greater magazine capacity, I can shoot it faster, I can shoot it more accurately. There's also the downside that although this firearm is perfectly legal in the jurisdiction in which I reside, it is not legal in other jurisdictions. I really don't like this firearm. However, it does have a couple of pluses as well, such as this fits in a gym bag a whole lot better than the Model 500 does. And if you're talking about a home defense firearm, and you've decided that a multiple projectile firearm is what you want to go with, and you're in cramped spaces like a small apartment, this can be used much more efficiently than a full-size shotgun. So although I don't like this firearm, I don't think it's right to completely dismiss it as utterly useless, which some people have done, such as the guy who was advocating the over-the-shoulder technique. Now the takeaways from today, as far as the over-the-shoulder technique goes, I find that for me, using something like a low ready or just in the armpit technique, I can shoot faster and more accurately. I can also manage recoil a whole lot better when the shotgun is in my shoulder. But again, I'm not going to dismiss the over-the-shoulder technique as utterly useless. Perhaps it is an advantage for some people, but certainly not for me. So as always, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the shotgun over-the-shoulder technique video.